Hey everyone, welcome to this full moon Sidereal astrology forecast for the days surrounding December 22nd, 2018. All right, so a full moon right in between Taurus and Gemini, actually right on Orion here this full moon. Now, if you were expecting me to say a different sign, be sure to check out that link down below for more information on true Sidereal astrology. All right, so the full moon here right on Orion, this blend between Taurus, which is a great time now of cultivating still our resourcefulness. Things that do require our inner strengths, inner resources to develop, right? To cultivate our values in life. While at the same time, Gemini, using our rational faculty, using our intelligence right now, and willingness to learn. All right, really good time to cultivate these qualities with the full moon. And this is essentially what Orion is about, is using that resourcefulness and intelligence, that rational faculty of Gemini, to pursue our values in life. So with this full moon, we do have a square up to Mars and Chiron, so there could be a bit of integration needed maybe with our assertive side. Really good to find healthy expressions of that, maybe some actions we can take intentfully and with conscious awareness. And a sextile up to Uranus, listening to that excitement and maybe making some changes that could be a bit revolutionary or different in our life with this full moon. So along with this, we do have a couple important aspects this weekend. Venus is going to be trining Neptune, maybe some receptivity in relationships, and Mercury over Jupiter, a broadened perspective about things, and maybe feeling a bit of inspiration. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here is the chart for the full moon. Now, like I was saying earlier, we are using the actual size of the constellations, which does change the signs from mainstream astrology. So if you are new to the channel, definitely check out that link down below because the signs are different. So the full moon here, right in between Gemini and Taurus, leaning a little bit closer to Gemini. But since we are talking about the moon here, this moon is going to be right on the hand of Orion. Now, I normally don't talk about Orion because technically the constellation doesn't pass through the ecliptic like, say, Ophiuchus does. But still the moon, with its kind of tilted orbit relative to the ecliptic, it does pass over there and it will be touching that constellation. So Orion is this combination between the earth energies of Taurus, which is that development of our resourcefulness and our natural talents and natural abilities, combined with Gemini, which is about using our rational faculty to solve problems, right? To find solutions and use that intelligence and really willingness to learn to cultivate these values in life and whatever it is that we're pursuing. You know, Orion is the hunter. And so the constellation represents the side of ourself that is the physical human side of ourself. You know, we talk a lot about Ophiuchus on the channel, which is more of the spiritual side to the human experience, but Orion is the physical side. So this is, you know, for example, the fact that we are rational beings and that is our mode of survival, right? To use our minds. And so this full moon could be activating that, but we're also natural animals, right? We're from Earth. And so cultivating our natural side with Taurus and connecting to nature, and again, our inner resourcefulness and things like this make it a really good time to cultivate these energies. Now, this is a full moon, so generally it's a status check, and I would say just generally, great time to do a status check with particularly your physical values in life and asking yourself, how is your inner strength, inner resourcefulness, inner self-value, and also how is your willingness to learn and be curious with the Gemini energy, right? And so combining these two through this status check is great to be maybe doing a bit of a, not only status check, but a bit of a pivot and shift with whatever insights might come up during this full moon. All right, so I will put down in the comments section which house this is for each of the signs. Now it's going to be 2 houses because it will be 2 signs there. So do check that out for a more specific look to see specifically what areas this full moon will be involved for you. Now, the full moon, of course, is always opposite the sun, and so it's always important to bring in the opposite sign here where the sun is transiting. And in this case, it's Sagittarius. We've been doing a lot of healing this past month, and recently started to come into a little bit more of the inspiring side of ourself. So while we are cultivating this physical side of ourself, also great to be cultivating our free-spirited side of ourself. All right, Sagittarius is about expanding our horizons, listening to that freedom, and listening to that spirit for life. Our spirit for life that guides us, right, and guides us along the life journey. Sagittarius is about cultivating that adventurous side, following that life path, following those inspirations. Again, while cultivating these more rational, physical kind of things with the full moon. All right, so along with this, we do have a T-square with Mars and Chiron in Pisces. So this full moon, I think, will be placing an importance on working with our direct and assertive side in conscious and healthy ways. Now, Mars has been kind of tracking the sun here because he was retrograde just recently, and so he's just gaining momentum. So he's moving at relatively the same pace as the sun, and so we've had a lot of squares between Mars and the sun, these lunar cycles recently. And so with this one, as it has been the case already, really good time for seeing how we can balance the Mars masculine driven assertive side of ourselves. And so this could be, if there isn't enough Mars energy in your life, good time to do this, right? Maybe physical exercise, asserting ourselves, doing things that require building of confidence and courage. But also the same token, if there's things that were maybe there's too much of that sort of assertive or wanting or needing energy, practicing non-attachment and being conscious of that side of ourselves that does need to assert, but by doing it consciously, it helps balance it out and helps prevent any type of frustrations or bottlenecking, which can sometimes be the case collectively with Mars in a T-square in Pisces like this. Now, Chiron's involved, so I think, as it also has been, maybe some things we can continue to do to challenge ourselves to face some wounds with. Right? If any wounds or inhibitions come up during this full moon, maybe good to go into them, and with Mars, take action in the face of them. Now, we are talking about Pisces, so while going about, taking action, I think it's really good to access that receptive side of ourselves still. Surrender what's outside of our control, live as presently as we can, connect to that beingness, and that's going to be also a very constructive way of working with this full moon. All right, so that's the most important aspect there, but we do have a sextile up to Uranus, who's been trining the sun. So listening to our excitement still. We may have felt this Thursday coming up to the weekend. Listening to that true self, and where we can bring in a bit of spontaneity and change into our life. There might just be a bit of an opening here to cultivate this during the full moon. All right, so that is the full moon energy. Now, we do also have some important things going on right before that. The full moon will be on the 22nd of Saturday. For most of us, the exact time will be 13:34 Eastern time on Saturday, if you want to make those calculations for where you are in the world. But leading up to the full moon, nonetheless, we do have two very important aspects. One is going to be Venus trining up to Neptune, which gives us a bit of receptivity in relationships. And the other is going to be Mercury over Jupiter, giving us a broadened perspective. So very nice aspects, actually. So with the Venus trine, could be this sort of flow or easygoingness in relationships, just easy to accept, again, being receptive. And that's on the social side to it. And the personal side to it is very imaginative, very creative. We could just be enjoying a bit of going with the flow, or maybe some rest or tranquil sort of energy. Good to relax into things that are kind of tranquil, relaxing, comfortable with Venus trine Neptune. Things that have to do with our values and relationships just have a bit of this easygoingness about them, receptivity about them. And again, very good creative energy as well. So coinciding with that, and just so happens to be within a few minutes of it, is going to be Mercury over Jupiter, who are conjoining in Scorpio. So this is where Mercury, that Gemini energy of our willingness to learn, our rational mind, conjoins up to Jupiter, Sagittarius energy, that has to do with expanding our horizons. So I think there naturally is a good balance during this full moon regarding this willingness to stay grounded in the practical aspects of life, while at the same time expanding our horizons. So we could have this broadened view. We could be maybe a bit inspired or hopeful with this, and really good to channel that into particularly Mercury things, like maybe coming up with plans or ideas, maybe gaining higher information, insights, wisdom, philosophy, spirituality, right? We just have this kind of abstract thinking, this broader thinking that can give some of this insight and higher wisdom at this time. Now, with the conjunction in Scorpio, it's all about deeper awareness. I think it's a great time for really becoming aware of our deeper selves, as it has been. But because Jupiter's involved, it's probably, again, in a bit more of a theoretical, top-down perspective, which makes it a bit inspiring, perhaps. So really good conjunction here for maybe breaking some cycles, facing some fears, transforming ourselves, particularly if it has to do with what we're thinking about, how we're thinking about things, what's our perspective, and maybe some of these sort of things we're doing a status check during the full moon. All right, everyone, so that is the full moon in a nutshell. Most important thing is the full moon in Orion, this very earthy, practical side of ourselves. Doing a status check with that. How are these qualities of our resourcefulness and practicality and willingness to learn? Great time to do these things. Connect to nature, and maybe also doing some learning, maybe some reading, writing. Communication's always good with a full moon in Gemini, sharing and exchanging with others. All this kind of earthy, practical, physical stuff, really good to do a status check with, while balancing, which you might call the more spiritual side of the chart, which is, in this case, expanding our horizons with Sagittarius and seeing the broader perspective. All right, so everyone have a fantastic full moon. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time for the daily forecast. Take care.